Today's video is something I really wish I had when I was going into the audition process because I knew absolutely nothing about unifieds, and that was the thing that was really hard to find information on and get a feel for before I went. So I really hope that this video gives you some insight so you can be more ready and more prepared when you go to unifieds. So for unifieds, schools are put into different studios in either one building or several different buildings, and auditions are held in various studios that are in close proximity to each other. So on each floor there'll be about 10 or so different schools auditioning different kids, and there are a lot of people. It's very busy, but you'll see like everybody you know. I saw everybody I knew that was going and everybody I didn't know was going, and you'll meet new people because there are just so many people to talk to. I also had a lot of fun. It snowed and it was magical because it's so magical when it snows in New York. Also bring Zicam because there are so many people that you'll probably get sick and you don't want to. So take some precautionary measures. So the biggest question that I was wondering is how many auditions should I schedule, because I didn't want to schedule too many, but I wanted to also make the most of the time that I had there. So I ended up scheduling five auditions. Let me remember. 6. I had 6 auditions. So I ended up scheduling 6 auditions at Unifieds, which sounds like a lot, but it is so nice that you can schedule so many different auditions in just one weekend. I mean, I did that in 2 days, and I ended up doing 1 walk-in. So I scheduled 5, and one of those was a walk-in. And I think that I could have probably had like 2 more, maybe not scheduled, but walk-in ones, because I definitely did have time in between my auditions.
The reason I say that I could have done 2 walk-ins and not 2 scheduled auditions in addition is because for my walk-in, I didn't have to do a dance call, and that isn't the same for every walk-in, but it depends on the school. So some walk-ins could take less time than the scheduled auditions. So when I went to New York Unifieds, I was there for only Saturday and Sunday, but apparently some people were there earlier. And when I was signing up to audition for schools, I didn't see any other days like Thursday or Friday to sign up for the school, but I think you could also do walk-ins on those days instead.
Something to keep in mind when you are choosing which schools that you want to audition for in New York is to try and pick the ones that are not close to you. I didn't do this well enough. I ended up auditioning for a school that's maybe like an hour-and-a-half drive from me instead of the ones that are like 6 hours or a plane ride. Definitely prioritize those ones and get them over with, or not just get them over with, but make it easier for yourself so you have to do less traveling, because that is one of the nice things about Unifieds is it allows you to not have to do so much traveling and spend so much time traveling to all these different schools. So take advantage of that and definitely prioritize which schools you sign up for at Unifieds. Now, because you're going to have so many schools, like I said, I had 6 in 2 days, which is a lot. You're going to have to stay organized. So I had a spreadsheet. And I think this is so important because I would ask my friends, oh, so what schools are you auditioning for? And they would name like 4 and forget the rest. And I was the same way because it's so hard to remember 6 different places that you're auditioning for. And if I can't remember the school's names, there's no way in heck that I can remember the studio that it is in, the floor it's on, where to go, what time, what I have to do for that school. There's no way I can do that. So I had a spreadsheet. I had one with all of the schools, all the times in order for all the days, what I had to do, what I had to bring, and I will link that in the description. I also had another spreadsheet that I linked in my first video, which I'll link down below too, and it just showed everything that I needed to prepare for that audition. So my monologues and my songs and the requirements and the time for each of them, because it's different for every school. I mean, at my Unifieds audition, I would go and I'd have one school be 32 by credit, the next one would be 16, the next would be 32, the next would be 16. And it was so hard like to do. It was craziness. If I had not been organized, it would have been 10 times harder. So because you're gonna have so many auditions, another thing to keep in mind is reaching out to these schools. For some of the schools, I wasn't hearing what my times were, and it was like the week before. And that's stressful because there are so many things that have to be right. And one of the schools I couldn't do the dance call because it overlapped with another school's audition. And there are just things like that that you really have to get in order. And I was so hesitant to reach out to these schools because I didn't want to be like nagging or something. But it's a good thing I did, and you really have to, because if you don't, it's just going to be so much harder and last minute to get your schedule in, and you want to make sure that your schools don't overlap in audition times.
And if they do overlap, you can email your schools and ask to change your times, which is why you want to get your schedule for each school as soon as possible so you have time to switch your audition times.
And I would say 2 weeks before, start like emailing people if you're not getting responses for what time you have to be there, just because you really want to take that pressure off yourself, especially before you're going to get there. Like the week before is probably just going to be like hectic because it's just nervous because you have so many auditions at once. What should you expect when you're there? First of all, you should expect a lot of people. I mean, there are so many people, especially in the morning on the first day and the next day. In the morning is when people are figuring it out. I got there and there was a line out the door. And there were like 2 elevators that were working, and it took me like half an hour to get there, and I couldn't find the floor because I was really confused with what I had written down. I didn't have the floor, and I found it, but I got to my audition like late, but they were running behind, so I was early, thank God. But you definitely have to give yourself like half an hour, especially in the morning, to get there. And then also give yourself time for the elevators because the hotels are very packed. And it took me forever, most of the time, to get down the elevator, and I was on the 20th floor and had like 2 backpacks, and there was like no way I was going to go down 20 flights of stairs. So give yourself, like, depending on what hotel you go to, like 50 minutes. 50. That's a lot, I know, and you might have extra time, but if you do, you can like get in your zone and meditate. Also, schools will usually have you do some paperwork. One of the schools, I had to do a music theory placement test. So you will have things to do when you get there, and obviously if you get there late, you're stressing, and you have stress on top of the stress of auditioning, and you don't want that. So get there on time or get there early. So 50 minutes plus also factoring in how far away you are. I was like a minute away from most studios walking, so I didn't really have to add that much time, but make sure you give yourself enough time. You don't want to be late like I was. Okay, the big things are walk-ins. I knew almost nothing about walk-ins when I came to Unifieds. The whole walk-ins summary, we'll go over that. So a lot of them you have to sign up for in the morning because they're first come first serve. The one I did, I was able to sign up in the afternoon and do it that day. I definitely encourage doing walk-ins. I got into the school that I did a walk-in for, so you never know, it could be the school you end up going to. If you decide you want to do walk-ins, something I really would recommend is waking up a little bit early. So getting there like 6:30, I think people were getting there pretty early. I wouldn't get ready and like do your vocal warm-up and stuff. I would like get dressed, walk over there, sign up for your auditions, and then go back to your hotel and then start warming up and stuff, just so that you can get there before everybody else and get your time slot for whatever time you want to get it for. Obviously, I would say if you're running close to your scheduled time, and because you're at a walk-in, I would go to your scheduled one and just forget about the walk-in. So when I did my walk-in, I got there on time, and they had me actually apply for the school on a piece of paper when I was there. And then I waited for about half an hour, like 45 minutes. So I was there for a while, even though I was there on time. And then I went in and auditioned. So it's not gonna be like super quick. Like if your time is 2:30, you're not gonna get out at 2:30 or 2:40. You might get out at like 3:30, you know? So again, having enough time between your audition before and your audition afterwards, because you don't know how long that's gonna take. I was asked if you can do a walk-in for a school that has a pre-screen, and generally I would say you can't do that, but somebody did tell me that they were able to audition, like set up an audition for a school that did have a pre-screen, but they had passed the pre-screen, and their audition would have been like a few weeks later, but they were able to do it when they were there because they had already passed the pre-screen. But generally, otherwise, I would say you can't. And also on the Unified's website, they actually will have like a list of all the schools that are there, and then next to it, yes or no, if they have walk-ins, which I thought was really helpful, because then you can see every school and be like, oh, I want to audition for the school. Do they have a walk-in? And you can easily see. So a tip that is something you definitely need to have when you are going to Unifieds is, first of all, 16 bar cuts and 32 bar cuts and a minute cut of all your song, just in case, especially for those walk-ins, because for the walk-in I had to do a 16 bar cut, which is not as common, but I had it, thank God. And also, one of the schools that I did that wasn't a walk-in, there was a misunderstanding on their directions of what you had to bring, and they said bring in your pre-screen, the songs you did for pre-screens, and they didn't say to bring a cut, and so a lot of people didn't have a cut, including me. I didn't have a cut, so I had to come up with a cut when I was there, which was very, very stressful, and it wasn't even the best cut. I mean, that's just why you need to have the cut in case, so that everything could run smoothly. And going along with that, you need to have the piano music for your songs. The best case is to have all those cuts recorded, because some schools won't have a pianist and some won't. I mean, the walk-in that I did didn't have a pianist, and they had a speaker, but you should also bring your own speaker. That's another thing, that it has to be fully charged. When I went to my walk-in, it was like about to die, and thank God they had their own, because if I used mine, it probably would have died halfway through my song. So bring a fully charged speaker, because they aren't always gonna have a speaker, and your phone isn't always that loud. Also, another thing, I mean, Unified is so fast paced, but I had a very enjoyable time. I really liked it, especially because I went to New York Unified, so I got to be in New York, which was really nice. But you also want to, stay relaxed and be calm. And something I did is, in between my auditions, since my hotel was really close to the buildings, my mom and I would go back and we would watch The Hunger Games and we would watch The Office. And I thought that was really nice. Like, we watched Hunger Games the night before. We still went to bed really early, which was really nice because I needed a lot of sleep before everything that happened. It was really nice to go back and sit with our food and watch The Office and just kind of relax and just breathe everything out. Also, I said this in one of my other audition videos, but bring a journal. I mean, everything is so fast paced, especially your auditions, and you start forgetting things. And at my first audition, I forgot to ask for my first note, and I should have done that, and I didn't write it down. And so I went to one of my other ones, 2 after that, and made the same mistake. So keep a journal so that you can write down your mistakes and what went well and everything like that. And it'll just make everything go smoother, so you don't make the same mistakes, because there's no reason to make the same mistakes when you don't have to. So that is an overview of everything. It's so crazy. Some schools are so short and you're just in and out with your audition, and then you have your kind of long dance audition. Some schools, one of my schools, they had an entire presentation and stuff like that, and it was really long. One of my schools, I had the audition in New York in the studios, and then the dance audition was on their campus. So you never know. It's crazy. It's so much fun. I met so many people. I mean, go up and walk up to people and just start talking to them. I hope this video gives you a better grasp of everything that's going on and everything that's going to happen. And definitely, if you have more questions, if you think of a question about Unifieds or just anything else, please leave it and I will make sure to answer that, because it really is insane. But I hope you enjoyed the video. It would mean the world if you liked this video and subscribed so you can see when everything else is coming out. And make sure to click on one of these 2 videos to watch more and be more prepared for the audition season. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.